First Peter chapter 5 and verse 8. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. Shabbat Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start by giving all praise, honor, and glory unto the Heavenly Father, the Most High, our Creator and our power, who the world ignorantly calls God. His name is Yahweh, in the name of His only begotten Son, our Lord, our Savior, and our Deliverer, the Messiah, who the world ignorantly calls JC. His name is Yahweh Shai. Call Halayamla, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rechakodas, and double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Salutations, peace, blessings, and safety unto the hopeful elect. Excuse me. And pretty much this lesson will be entitled, Be Aware, the Devil is in Agitation Mode, and in parentheses, Hegelian Dialectic. Okay, because as it pertains to the current events that are taking place right now, particularly in California, in LA, the whole rioting situation, we got to understand, the not only the importance, but how it's relevant to prophecy, and how these things are a fulfillment. When it comes to those who are sitting in the higher seats, they are the ones who are pulling the strings and making these things happen, man. Everything that we see taking place is not organically taking place. These things are orchestrated, and they are foreplanned. Because when it comes to Esau, right, Esau being the so-called white man, but not just the average so-called white man, right, the average Edomite. We talking about, the chief house of Edom, okay, the Amalekites, all right, those who are, again, sitting in those power seats. They are very, very diligent, very patient, and as the scriptures say, they accomplish a diligent search, okay, and part of that diligent search is understanding the nature of people and how people react to certain situations. And this man has in his mind, he got all the time in the world. So he has not only the resources and the ability to study people and to, learn people's behavior and pretty much master problem, reaction, solution. Right, but this man has the ability to actually enact these things and put these things into play. Okay. So that's why I read the first precept in 1 Peter 5 and 8 about how the devil, as a roaring lion, right? The adversary, the adversary, who is the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. Because this man is a predator. He's a natural predator. The scriptures speak about how Esau is a cunning hunter. And one of Esau's main strategies in hunting is setting traps. Okay? And part of those traps that's being set right now is the whole situation that we see going on in LA. That's nothing more than a trap, man, to catch people. Again, he has accomplished that diligent search, and he's mastered the art of problem, reaction, solution. That's how he was able to accomplish a lot of his agendas through Hegelian dialectic, which in essence is problem, reaction, solution. Now, the thing about it is, this devil, he premeditates problems and solutions, right? Whenever there's a problem presented, which the problem is really not presented, is really created, but to the world, when there's a problem presented, the solution has already been, which is not a real solution, but just to, explain it. When a problem is presented, the solution is already there. The solution is already, in place, because the solution is based off of the problem that was created. Okay. So I'm gonna go into a few things, and then, Lord willing, I pray it's edifying. So if, for those who may not know what's going on, for those who sleeping under a rock and not paying attention to the current events and actually, taking heed to the things that are happening around them, there's been a lot of persecution going on via the ICE agents. Okay, Trump already set it in order of so-called migrants, right? They call them migrants, but the term used to be immigrants, of those who are in America illegally. he put it into place for the ICE agents to pretty much round up those who are in America illegally and just, pretty much ship them back to wherever they're from. But there's a lot of persecution going on, because there's even people being rounded up they're not even immigrants. They're actual proven citizens. All right. And it's tearing a lot of families apart, and it's agitating a lot of people. And when you go into the word agitate, it means to stir up or to disturb. Okay? When you think about a bunch of ants in a jar, if you ever seen that experiment done, if you think about a bunch of ants in a jar, those ants will, for the most part, be at peace. But when you begin to shake that jar, those ants begin to attack one another. Okay? Now, we're not seeing people attack one another just yet, but that's the whole point. This is what it's coming to. This is the part of the plan that they want. Okay? And this is where that second interest is going to come into play, of those not regarding their kings nor princes, man, of people actually, because right now we're in the stage of sedition, which is the incitement of violence, the incitement of that rising up. The actual insurrection is the action that follows the sedition, okay? Because at first it's division, it's disagreement, it's frustration and tension, but then it begins to be action behind it. People start to act on their frustrations, okay? And it's going to be against one another, and it's also going to be against the government, against the forces that be, or the powers that be, however you want to say it. Okay, and that's what the insurrection is, a violent uprising. Okay, so right now the jar is being shaken up. Okay, people are being agitated, and it's all by design. Okay, so let me see where I'm gonna start. So first, as a matter of fact, let me read this first. 2 Esdras 9, and I'm gonna start at the top. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people, then, right, and let me stop there. Then, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people, okay? So, in the beginning, the very first verse, it said, measure the times diligently in itself, meaning measure the time of pretty much measuring how close we are to the coming of Yahweh Shah, which represents the end of this current kingdom. Okay, there's a said sequence of events that was said to take place in the earth before the actual coming of Yahweh Shah. All right, and part of those things that was said to take place is uproars of the people and earthquakes. Right, and in Matthew, it speaks about the earthquakes in diverse places. And I just seen a post how there's been many earthquakes as of late, man, and we talking about in a very short period of time. And Shalom, Yahweh Shemal, Shabrakatah. There's been a very large amount of earthquakes in a very short period of time, and I believe in Utah alone, within a week. Within the span of a week, there was, I believe, 100 earthquakes in Utah. But the magnitude of those earthquakes is so low that it's not being reported, or it's not actually being, pretty much taken into account as important. It's just, they call them, what did he call it? I forget exactly what the post called it, but it was pretty much like pocket quakes, like I forget exactly what you call them, like aftershocks almost, so, but they're happening frequently, back to back to back to back to back. And I believe they said they had about 100 within a week. And this is everywhere, man. The volcanoes are very active right now, which is, it goes hand in hand with the earthquakes, because, when those volcanoes erupt, there's tectonic plates moving due to the earthquakes, and hey, that's gonna be bad, man. All right, but we seeing a whole lot of earthquakes taking place. we just had that seven magnitude earthquake. I forget exactly where it was. I believe it was in one of those Asian countries. Matter of fact, let me look that up. I don't want to just be talking. Yeah, it was out there in Thailand. Yep. And let me see. Yeah, it was a 7.7 magnitude earthquake in central Myanmar on March 28th of this year. And it says it caused over 3,600 deaths and injured about 5,000 people. And that's more or less, that's those who are accounted for. All right, but that got swept under the rug. That's a major devastation right there, man. That's not some everyday normal devastation. That's some crazy numbers right there, man. First of all, the magnitude of 7.7, that's pretty high. That's not a normal or common magnitude earthquake. Okay, not to get off topic, but just going into the signs of the times. All right, and it killed 3,600 people, right, as it is accounted for. But people are not talking about that no more, man, because people have become desensitized to death and devastation, man. People talk about these things for a week maybe, and then it's back to the bullshit, back to the distractions, and back to the entertainment. Okay, but that's where we at, man. All right, but back to 2nd Esdras 9, and it says the earthquakes and uproars of the people, and it's not just L.A., man. You got uproars of the people. You got protests happening as we speak in different countries. I'm not sure if France is still protesting, but there was some protesting going on out there in France. Excuse me, where is that at? Let me see. Yeah. So last month there were some Panamanian, out there in Panama. It was some Chiquita workers, right, which is the brand of bananas. They were doing some protesting, right, because they was on strike because there was I believe there was a Social Security reform that was changed, and pretty much it had to do with the wages. They were unhappy with the wages, and let me see. Yeah, some Social Security changes, which they feared would affect their future pensions. And it says that brand, Chiquita, lost about $75 million due to the strike. And I believe they came to some kind of agreement, or they had some what do you call it? My brain is not trying to work right now. They had some what do you call it when they try to come to an agreement? Man, it's on the tip of my brain, but anyway, I'm gonna just continue on. But back to 2nd Esdras 9, and I'm gonna read verse 3 again. It says, "Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning." Okay, and this is what we're speaking on now. And this is not surprising to some. This is surprising. The things going on is surprising to a lot of people, but beginning with the apostles and the elder bishops on down, man, they've been speaking on these things happening and taking place, not in detail, but as far as the uproars of the people and the tension and the all of the division taking place as we see it. The apostles been speaking on these things. This is not nothing new. Everything is just playing out, because as the Most High said, old things are coming to pass, and new things do I declare, and before they spring forth, I tell you of them. And the way that the Most High speaks on these things and tells or gives that warning of these things to come is through the prophets. All right. Verse 5, it says, "For like as all that is made in the world have a beginning and an end." Let me see. It says, "And the end is manifest." All right. So we see in the the end be manifest, man. All right, so I went to ChatGPT just to do some, some research, right? So I looked up, what is Hegelian dialectic? And it says, the Hegelian dialectic is a philosophical method of understanding how ideas, history, or reality develop through a process of contradiction and resolution. It originates from the work of George Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel, a German philosopher. All right, it says the core idea, a dialectic, unfolds in three main stages. Okay, and those three main stages, it's thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. Okay, the thesis is an initial idea or condition. Antithesis, a direct opposition or contradiction to the thesis. The synthesis is a resolution that reconciles the tension between thesis and antithesis, producing a new idea or state, okay, which ultimately is problem, reaction, solution. All right, it says the synthesis then becomes a new thesis, starting the process again in a spiral of development and progress. All right, so then I looked up on ChatGPT, how can Hegelian dialectic be used during protests and riots? And it populated and said, the Hegelian dialectic at its core is a framework for understanding the process of historical development through the resolution of contradictions. And it consists of those three stages, and it gives those stages again. And when you go down, it says, let me see. Okay, it says, when applied to protests and riots, the Hegelian dialectic can be seen as a tool for understanding how social change often emerges from tension, conflict, and opposition. And here's how it might play out. Number one, thesis, the existing status quo. In the context of a protest or riot, the thesis represents the existing political, social, or economic conditions that are being challenged. And what is the current challenge that we're seeing take place right now? The whole, the immigration thing, of the deportation. It says, this might be the government system, police brutality, social inequality, and economic disparity. Any structure or condition that is perceived as unjust or oppressive by the marginalized group or the public. For example, thesis, a society where systemic racism exists and is entrenched in institutions like the police force, education system, and criminal justice system. All right, which is the implementation of those ICE agents, deporting people. All right, that's the current example that we're dealing with. Okay, now number two, antithesis, which is the opposition or protest. The antithesis is the direct opposition to the thesis, typically manifested through collective action, such as protests or riots. This is the outpouring of frustration, anger, and resistance against the status quo. And there's also floating around, which is very, fishy in itself. And this is why we should all be very aware, be very vigilant. They're planning around the U.S. in many different states a protest or riots on June 14th. I believe Trump is having some kind of parade or something like that, and people are pretty much to combat that or to protest that. They're all planning a joint protest around the U.S. on that day. Okay, so it says this is the outpouring of frustration, anger, and resistance against the status quo. The aim of the protest or riot is often to challenge the legitimacy of the existing system or bring attention to its flaws. For example, the people, often led by marginalized communities or activists, protest against police brutality, racial discrimination, or inequality in the system. Protests like those seen in movements like BLM are reactions to those entrenched societal issues. And we're seeing the exact same thing, because pretty much what we're seeing right now is the Northern Kingdom version of BLM, okay? Because, you know, they call it like the Chicano movement or something like that. That's pretty much BLM, you know, for the Northern Kingdom. Okay, the Northern Kingdom represents the so-called Latinos as well as the so-called Native Americans. Okay, so you know we're seeing the Northern Kingdom being roused up right now because of that oppression. But you know we're not supposed to be rising up in that way, man. We understand we all oppressed. We all are being targeted. Okay, and Esau, he has it out for us, man. That's what we trying to preach to our people, that listen, this man is the devil. Not only are you not supposed to trust him, but hey, we're supposed to be seeking Yahweh by Shem Yahushai and hastening for the Lord to come back and deliver us from this man. We're not gonna be able to deliver ourselves, and you know, doing it that way, as far as the protests and riots, it's never worked, and it's not gonna start working. All right, so let's go to number 3. Excuse me. Which is the synthesis, which is the resolution or new status quo. The synthesis is the eventual resolution of the contradiction between the thesis and antithesis. It represents a new stage where some aspects of the existing system are reformed, or a new system is established that addresses the contradictions that led to the protest. All right, so this is the solution, right? Ideally, the synthesis incorporates elements from both the thesis and antithesis, resulting in a more progressive and equitable situation. So again, when it comes to that problem reaction solution, the problem that's presented, which is a created problem, they understand how the people are going to react. They understand, okay, when this takes place, when these particular events take place, this is how the people is going to react. And based off of their reaction, they're gonna seek this type of resolution. They're gonna seek this type of, you know, help. So we're gonna be right there to offer that help whenever they need it. And what's in it to prove that? Let's go to the scriptures, man. This is Sirach 12, and I'm going to start at verse 10 and jump down. It says, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Okay? So this man, understand, he's your enemy. He does not have your best interest. He does not have a care for your well-being as an Israelite. Okay? He don't even care for his own people. He leaves his own people out to dry. His people are out there starving, strung out on drugs, homeless, so on and so forth. Okay, and this is against his own kind. How much more against a nation of people who the Lord put from the very beginning enmity between us. Okay, the Edomites and the Israelites, there's enmity, which is hatred between our people. This man has an intense hatred for the Israelites. All right, and he does not have the best interest for you. Not only that, he wants to see you do the worst. He wants to get rid of you. He wants to wipe you off the face of the earth. Okay, so you're not supposed to trust this man. All right, and that goes for them dumbass Northern Kingdom niggas, because that's what they are. That was out there dancing and singing and shucking and jiving, talking about we voting for Donald Trump, and you know all of them dumbasses, man, out there, you know, advocating for this man, talking about, oh, Donald Trump is the one. He's gonna be the one to set us free. Yeah, he gonna set you free, all right. He gonna get you right up out of there, set your ass free, right back where you came from. You know. But this is the stupidity of our people, always seeking a king or a ruler of another nation as opposed to one of their own nation, man, as we supposed to. Okay, Esau did a number on our people, man. They got a deep sense of what you call it? Damn, see my brain right now, man. They have a deep sense of Stockholm syndrome, man. So let me jump down just to get to the point. In verse 16, it says, an enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit. And again, as I said in the beginning, one of Esau being that cunning hunter, one of his main strategies of hunting is setting traps. All right. And in order to set a trap, right, when you even think about setting traps, as a hunter, you don't just set traps anywhere. You set traps where you know the activity, there's activity of the thing that you're trying to catch. Okay. You know that this animal is going to walk over in this area. You don't know exactly where they're going to walk, but you know this animal be in this area, so I'm going to set traps around this area. Okay? You don't just set traps anywhere. So this man, again, he did that diligent search. He knows the nature of people, and especially the nature of Israelites. What's an example of him knowing the nature of Israelites, man? He put the liquor stores and the churches and the fast food stores, and he put all of these things in your neighborhood because he knows the things that you're weak to. He knows your weaknesses. He knows the things that you addicted to. He put these drugs and guns and all of these things in your community, man. We can go on and on and on, but that's a whole nother topic. But this man has studied people, but specifically Israelite people, to understand their behavior and their nature, man, and how they react to certain situations. All right. It says, again, an enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips. Oh, we gotta, my Latino brothers and sisters. What was Trump doing all that glaze and all that ass kissing during his campaign, saying he gonna do this and he gonna do that and he's gonna consider these things and he's gonna write these laws. But when he got in office, he did the complete opposite. He pulled a 180 on you niggas, man. And you keep falling for the okie doke, man. Biden did the same shit, and you thought, you didn't discarded Trump the first time and called Biden. Biden came in and took a shit on you, and then he left you in the pile of shit. And then Trump came, and you thought, oh well, we was wrong. Trump, come back to us, please. Okay, well you got Trump back, and now you got what you wanted. Jake, man, it says he will weep with his eyes. But if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. If adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first. And though he pretend to help thee, yet shall he undermine thee. And to undermine means to diminish. Okay? So this man, he wants to pretty much drain you Israelites of everything that you are, man, and that you have. Okay? So it's the point is, if adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first. Again, going back to the whole Hegelian dialectic, all right, which is that problem, reaction, solution. The problem is a created problem. So the solution is already premeditated. It's already, something that was thought about and spoken about beforehand, because they understand, based on this problem that's presented, this is going to be the reaction of these people, because we're creating the reaction. So it's like certain animals, right? When they hunt strategically. I've seen videos of lions, certain lions when they hunt, right? And I read the precept how your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. Certain lions, when they hunt strategically, in the sense of, you have what you call, or what I'm gonna call, it's like a facade hunt. You have one lion who will pretty much give the illusion that he's chasing the gazelle or the zebra, but he's not really chasing them. He's just directing them into another area, right? That's the problem. The reaction is those gazelles or those zebras or whatever animal it is that's being hunted is running in the direction that the lion knew that that animal was going to run into. But the solution, which the solution is in the mind of those animals, thinking that, okay, let's run this way. We're getting away from the lion chasing us. All right, but the solution ultimately is that lion that led those or that scared those animals into that direction knew that there's other lions in that area that the animals are running to. So when those animals run, they run into the area, and there's 3, 4, 5 lions right there, and then next thing you know, hey, dinner. Okay, so that's how the whole problem, reaction, solution takes place, man. That's how it happens. They create the problem. They have an understanding of the reaction that people are going to have. The solution is already there, because it's not it's not a thing of choice. They're not giving you choices based off of what you're frustrated about or what you actually have an issue with. Okay, you have an issue with systemic racism. You have an issue with the conditions of work, your work environment, or whatever it may be. They don't provide you solutions based off of that. They provide you premeditated solutions. Okay, we don't care what your problem is. They're not going to say this to you, but we don't care what your actual problem is. These are the solutions that I'm providing you. Choose one. This is what I'm giving you. Choose one. Okay, and these solutions is made or tailor made to benefit us. It's not made to benefit you. Okay. So let's go back to the chat GPT, right? The synthesis. It says, after the protests, the system may respond with reform or change, such as police reform. It says, such as police reform, new laws to address inequality, a broader societal shifts in attitudes towards race and justice. This is the problem. This is the solution that they present. This is not the actual solution that they're acting on or actually working towards. This is what they tell you that they're going to do for you. Okay, we understand your frustration. We understand your concerns. We'll do our best to handle that in a timely manner. But in reality, they don't give a fuck about you Israelites, man. They don't care about what you have a problem with. They don't care. It says, alternatively, if the protests or riots are not fully resolved, the synthesis might be an escalating conflict that continues until a more radical transformation occurs. All right. So yeah, man. So there was a directive, right? Implemented. Well, matter of fact, let me read it. So I looked up what is DOD 5240.01 on ChatGPT, right? It says DOD Directive 5240.01 is a document issued by the United States Department of Defense that outlines policies and procedures related to intelligence activities conducted by the DOD components. Right? DOD represents Department of Defense. Its primary focus is on ensuring that intelligence operations are carried out legally and in a way that respects the rights of U.S. citizens. The directive deals with counterintelligence and intelligence oversight within the DOD. More specifically, it provides guidance on how intelligence collection, processing, and dissemination should be conducted while avoiding undue intrusion on personal privacy or violating civil liberties. The directive includes the following. Okay. Number 1, oversight of intelligence activities, which establishes the procedures for oversight of the DOD's intelligence efforts to ensure compliance with laws, regulations, and constitutional protections. Number 2, protection of U.S. persons, which ensures that the intelligence activities carried out by the DOD do not violate the privacy or civil rights of U.S. citizens unless specifically authorized by law. Number 3, the intelligence oversight programs, which implements procedures for ensuring that intelligence activities do not overstep legal or ethical boundaries, including measures to review and report activities that could infringe on individual rights. Number 4, internal and external reporting, details how intelligence operations should report and track their activities, especially when they might come under scrutiny for potential violations. Okay, so I went to as I was doing some research on this, like I looked up that particular directive, right? And this website, AmericaRenewing.com, popped up, right? Which is an article back from November 1st of 2024, because the change to this directive was made in September of 2024, either September or October. All right, but this directive was created in, I believe, 2004, and it was rewritten in 2016. But those changes that were recently made was from September or October of 2024. All right, so this is via AmericaRenewing.com, and this is what I'm about to read is relevant to what's going on right now. Okay, so it says the Pentagon's alarming Directive 524001 allows secret use of the military, turning intelligence inwards on the American people, right? And this is all allegedly, right? Anything that I'm using is fair use. It's for informational purposes only, okay? And this is all allegedly, right? So in summary, it says the Pentagon adopted just a month and a half ago from that November posting a new directive in the run-up to the 2024 presidential election that authorizes military intelligence agents to use lethal force against the American people in connection with political unrest that in many instances would be protected would be protected by the First Amendment. Pretty much by the First Amendment. It says mainstream media and progressive media defending the Biden-Harris administration have tried to wave away concerns about this new directive, which puts American civil liberties at grave risk, especially of the conservative and populist variety. The new directive does revive an older directive, but as explained below, the changes reduce protections for liberty and for activity designed to lead to political or policy change. Additionally, drones can be used to exercise such force, as can secret contractors and security personnel who may not even be aware that they are acting under the direction of military authorities. Covered plans and obscured contracts can be used to augment military intelligence assets. Congressional oversight. Stricter media scrutiny to bring those important matters to the attention of the American people, and executive branch reform depending on the outcome of the 2024 election. Okay, so the whole point, the meat of all of this is that the permission is being granted by military officials, right? Let me read it again. It says the directive, right, the changes that was made, because the directive was already in place, but there's been changes or updates made to it. The new directive allows secret use of the military, turning intelligence inwards on the American people. Okay, because ultimately, when you think about the military was never made to handle civil affairs. It was always made to handle outside affairs. All right, but now the military is being used to handle civil affairs, and they don't necessarily have to tell you or notify you that they're using the military to handle those civil affairs. And if you remember, a while back, there was some drills taking place by the military based off of civil unrest. Different training. Drills being done based off of civil unrest. Okay, the enactment of, if this was to take place, this is how we're gonna react, or this is how we're gonna go about it. All right, and that wasn't for no reason, man. And people, they see those things and they may speak on it for a little bit, and then it gets swept under the rug. Okay, but that training and those drills was being done for a reason, man. Nothing that the military does as far as training and drills is in vain. Okay, even remembering that whole zombie training that they was doing. Ain't nothing happening right now that pertains to that training that they was doing, but it's only a matter of time. Okay, but the whole point is, it says the Pentagon adopted this new directive that authorizes military intelligence agents to use lethal force against American people in connection with political unrest that in many instances would be protected by the First Amendment activity. All right, so what we're seeing in LA is the military has been activated. Okay, you have not only the National Guard was implemented out there, All right, but you also have Marines, right? They skipped over the Navy, they skipped over the Army, they skipped over all of those other branches, and they went straight to the Marines, which is, you know, it's heavy, man. It's it shows you the importance and the drastic measures being taken. All right, and this is relevant because, you know, it's past the civil part, you know, as far as, you know, you've seen the videos of them throwing rocks at the ICE agents, which they could have acted, they could have responded to those rocks being thrown, which even that in itself, you got to be very cautious, you got to be vigilant, because a lot of those people out there, yeah, they were so-called Mexicans that was mad, they was angry, upset, you know, taking out their frustrations, throwing the rocks. But a lot of them were also agent provocateurs, man. People that were adding fuel to the fire, you know. A lot of them had their face covered up. A lot of them wasn't even Mexican. A lot of those people, you got to remember, man, the whole Biden administration, it allowed a lot of people to come into the borders of America. A lot of those people, if not all of those people, were military-age men of Arab descent, African descent, Indian descent, Chinese descent, even Ukrainian, right? A lot of those people that came into these borders, where they at? Them niggas just sleeping under a rock. They somewhere in hiding. They ain't working at no jobs, and nobody seeing them at these and ain't nobody seeing them at the grocery stores. Nobody seeing them at these entertainment events. Where they at? Okay, they somewhere, but that's what you call sleeper cells. But it's only a matter of time, and it has to be at an appointed time, right? Which is a time that they see fit and necessary to activate these sleeper cells, man. But, you know, you have people being paid to provoke, you know, people being paid to further incite violence and uproar, okay, uprising within these particular events, man. This is why you shouldn't be at these type of events. Not only is it the risk of a T attack taking place, but also you are at risk of being harmed and you know, killed, because you have people out there who are being paid to ignite and you know, inflame these situations and make them worse, when they're not even initially a part of the actual people that have the problem. Okay, these are paid people, man. All right. So I also looked up on ChatGPT. What are the dangers of the changes made to DOD 5240.01? Right? And ChatGPT says, here's a detailed look at the potential dangers and the debate surrounding the recent changes to DOD Directive 5240.01. It says the main concerns and risks, which number one, blurring the military-civilian line. Critics argue that the updated directive broadens the military-involved intelligence apparatus role in domestic affairs. Okay, again, the military was never made to handle civil affairs. The military was made to handle international affairs, especially in civil disturbances and election-related unrest, and enables a secretive posture and skirts public oversight. All right. This perceived expansion could lead to premature or unnecessary militarized responses to protests, with intelligence assets and drones being activated based on loosely defined triggers, such as reasonably foreseeable confrontations. So, i.e., the whole LA protests, right? They can say, oh well, it's a lot of these Mexicans, and you know, they're very upset and they're very angry, and a lot of them have guns, and you know, they can say anything, and they can say, oh well, we see that it's necessary. And remember, the WEF just said, what did they say? They said, So like, 1 second. Let me see. Well, they've been giving a lot of warnings, but specifically, recently they gave warning about, I believe it was a few months ago, but they gave warning about some major events taking place around the world, man. And we talking about major events, okay? And they're advocates for, you know, the NWO, if you didn't know. All right, so back to this. Number 2, it says vague standard for lethal force. All right, so remember they said it enables the secrecy, all right, of this of these military intelligence forces to be implemented, man. So number 2, it says the vague standard for lethal force. And you know, Trump did tell these agents, or whoever these people are that he's putting out there, he told them to wear masks, all right, to cover up their identity, which, you know, they supposed to identify themselves. It says new language authorizes assets with potential for lethality in situations where the use of lethal force is reasonably foreseeable. Critics point out the subjectivity of this standard. Without a clear legal benchmark like a tort law, these judgments could become dangerously discretionary. All right, so it's pretty much going to be down to their own discernment of what they see or what they deem necessary for lethal force. Okay, and that can be throwing rocks. If you throwing a rock at somebody who's driving, that's considered attempted, in their eyes, it's considered attempted murder, or it's considered assault with a deadly weapon. So they have means to use deadly force against you in defense. All right. Number 3, secretive activation without oversight. Because these actions could be carried out covertly by military intelligence personnel, there are valid concerns about circumventing transparency and public scrutiny. Unlike the Insurrection Act, which requires public proclamation, Directive 5240 allows for authorization that remains undisclosed. So they don't have to communicate with the people. They don't have to tell you, look, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it. All right, and this is what you should do to avoid any threat or any kind of harm. No, they just can act. All right, number 4, militarization of civil policing. Combining intelligence collection with battlefield grade technologies like drones and advanced surveillance, and equipping civilian law enforcement blurs boundaries and raises questions about the role of the Pentagon in home front scenarios. Yep, so it can come down to, you know, just as simple as the sheriff department. You know, we understand they have their own artillery, but there's a difference between local police artillery and military artillery. It's a big difference. We talking about weapons that are meant for war, you know, combat, and these type of weapons can be given to local police, man. All right, and that's not good, because, you know, though the military does have special training, you know, the sheriff department, you know, the police department, SWAT, things of that nature, they have training as well, but it's not to the extent of what the military is going through, because it's 2 different types of training. All right, there's no reason for the sheriff department and the police department to be training for military combat when they're dealing with civilians. They have to deal with civilians. You know, there's a different level of coldness and you know, straight to the point business when it comes to the military. So that's why those lines is being blurred by the military being activated in civilian matters, because now it's like, it's no bullshit, right? Like, shit is getting serious. All right, and the military, they're not going to be as you know, as patient, which we know what's going on. The police can be you know, draconian, and they can be very you know, harsh in how they deal with people. But how much more the military, man? These people they're given orders, and they're taught to follow orders, and that's what they're going to do. They're not going to be sitting there sympathizing with you and, you know, trying to hear you plead your case. Okay, so this is all relevant as everything that I just said, right? It said that they pretty much in so many words, they're being given that ability to act upon their discretion. So you got videos circulating. This video was just posted in the chat, right? And everything, you got to take everything with a grain of salt, man, because a lot of these videos that be posted, it can be AI. A lot of these videos that be posted, it's not even relevant to the situation going on. It's just something that was thrown out there to cause confusion or misinformation. A lot of these videos that was posted out there never happened at all. But there's a video, I'm gonna play it right now. So that was a alleged video of rioters allegedly firing at law enforcement. Now, this particular video, this guy, I didn't see him actually fire no shot. I didn't hear no gunfire. It appeared that he pointed a firearm in the direction of the law enforcement, but I didn't actually hear no weapon be fired. I could be wrong, but the whole point of me showing this video and speaking on this is because it's stuff like this, whether it happened or whether it's actually true or not. It's putting that narrative out there that, okay, shit is getting real out there, which it is, but it may not be to the extent of people actually shooting at the police, This, I don't know what this situation is about. I find it very odd that whoever is recording only caught that portion of the video. They decided to record right then and there when this guy pointed the gun and then backed off and then the video ended. Why are you not recording or streaming this whole situation to bring insight or firsthand point of view to the things that's actually going on? Why are you only recording this portion of the video? So I just found that very odd. So like I said, take everything with a grain of salt. But yeah, man. Nonetheless, this type of stuff is being publicized, to further add to that narrative of violence and uprising and uproar and insurrection. All right. So yeah, man, be very cautious out there, and don't take part in that, man. You Israelites out there, those of you who already believe and watch the videos, you should know better already. This is really for those who are new in the faith, and that those who are fresh out of the world and still battling the flesh in that sense of acting in a carnal way, right? Which we should be already being built up from that. But for those who are new in the faith, man, don't take part in that. Separate yourself. If you live in the area, go on about your business. Take care of your business. Go from point A to point B. Avoid those situations as much as possible, man. As the scriptures say, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men. Right? And it also says, be ye angry and sin not. And somebody may say, well, how is that sinning, or how is that evil? Right? Because it says, follow not a multitude to do evil. Well, how is that evil, or how is that considered sin? Because the Lord said vengeance is his. What these people are doing by them protesting and rioting is them trying to avenge themselves. They're trying to force a solution by the things that they're doing, man. Okay? And that's not good, because ultimately you tempting the Lord. You've been in that type of situation. It can go left in many different types of ways, man. At any moment, gunfire can erupt. People can be driving reckless. You can risk getting hit by a car or getting into an accident. You can risk getting shot in your eye with a rubber bullet, man. You can go on and on with the threats and the different dangers of a situation like that. Okay, but from there, I'm gonna go to Luke 21 and 25. I'm gonna get the NLT. Cause yeah, man, it's getting hot, man. And this is all a part of that fire being kindled by Yahweh Shem Yahushua, man. That division, all of that chaos and the turmoil. This is what the Lord wants. Okay, Luke 21:25 in the NLT. And there will be strange signs in the sun, moon, and stars. And here on earth, the nations will be in turmoil, perplexed by the roaring seas and strange tides. Excuse me. Yeah, man, and that's what we're seeing, which is that perplexity, and we're seeing that turmoil and the despair, man. There's a sense of hopelessness amongst the people. This is why people are acting out, right? That saying is very true. When people have nothing left to lose, they lose it, and people can feel, especially the Israelites, which we already didn't have nothing. We already are without. We're already lacking, but the little bit that Israelites feel like they still have, they feel like they're losing it. All right, for the most part, Jake stated themselves, and they embrace their struggle, they embrace their oppression and their captivity, and they do what they can within it, right? But that's not what we was put here for. We was put here for to learn a lesson, right? To return unto Yahweh Shem Yahushua, to serve Him, and it's deeper than that, all right? Jake, they feel like they're the little bit that they have left is being taken from them, so they're starting to rise up. They're starting to be agitated. Okay, so you're starting to see that turmoil increase in the world, man. And the things that we see happen in these other countries, we see these reports of the protests. We see riots in France and these other different countries. Certain European countries, even certain Central America, South American countries. They go into their period of rioting and protesting for their particular matters. And us Americans, I'm not gonna say us, but these Americans, they see these things, they may share the post, or they may comment on the post, entertain it for a little bit, and then it's back to the things, the normal BS. All right, and these things are coming close to home. They're starting to be more and more relevant to the American living. Okay, and people are starting to get affected more and more, man. Exodus 23:2, as I quoted it, right? Thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil, neither shalt thou speak in a cause to decline after many to rest judgment. Okay, which is saying to you Israelites, man, hey, show some prudence, show some spiritual discernment. Okay, seeing what's going on. You don't involve yourself in these activities. For one, it's pointless. It's not going to get you anywhere. You're not going to, which I don't know what. I know it's a form of expression, and it's a form of them acting on their frustrations, but it's not going to do nothing. It's never worked. Them, whether you destroying your own city, which you got niggas out there doing what niggas do, looting, breaking into stores, stealing shit. Man, Yahweh Shem Yahushua gonna destroy these niggas, man. But that's not gonna do nothing. I don't care if it's your own neighborhood or if it's the enemy's neighborhood. It's not gonna do nothing. We encourage that you don't do shit like that. Okay? Don't take part in the wickedness that these niggas got going on. Okay? And the simplicity that Jake is given to when it comes to the whole rioting and protesting. I was before the truth, I was in that spirit at one point, man. Me being from Cleveland, and the whole situation with Tamir Rice when he was killed, the whole period of police brutality. I've personally experienced, piece of shit police. I'm gonna just say that. So I had a personal I had personal feelings when it came to that. So I was out there protesting and expressing my frustrations as well, man. But when you get older, when you gain experience and you gain wisdom, not saying I'm just so wise or anything like that, but the experience that I have gained, and especially coming into the truth, and really being given that insight as to why things is happening and how to go about it, We got to really give things to the Lord, man. Like when it says, be wise as serpents and harmless as doves, hey, the Lord meant that. Because we in enemy territory right now. It's nothing we can do. The powers that be are ordained of the Most High. We have to let the Lord do what he's doing, man. When these devils is oppressing us, and when they doing what they doing, it's fucked up. But we got to let them do what they do, man. But let them build up their case. Let them continue to persecute the Lord people. Let them continue to touch the apple of the Lord's eye so he can get that much more angry and come on our behalf and act on our behalf. We can't do nothing. So don't try to do nothing. You know? It says 2 Corinthians 2:11, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. And the devices represents the intentions of the devil, man. And it's not talking about the spiritual demon Satan. It's talking about his physical counterpart, which are the Edomites. Again, those who are in control, those who are at the top of the food chain, man, pulling the strings, you know, funding certain movements, you know, putting certain plays in motion, man. These devils, they have it out for us, and everything that they're doing is ultimately geared towards their NWO. And within their NWO, we're X'd out. We're not a part of their NWO, especially not as a Hebrew Israelite. Okay, now you can be a part of this man's system as a Hebrew Israelite, but you have to be in complete subjection. You have to be in complete submission to him. You have to acknowledge him and confess him as your God, as your all be all. Okay, and if you a Hebrew Israelite that teach this truth, or you watch those who teach this truth, and you share these videos and agree with it, you are on the blacklist. You are not a part of this NWO, and you are on the list to be eliminated. Okay, but we're not ignorant of his devices, man. We're not, Esau is not as smart as people think he is. He's a fucking retard. Okay, he does the same thing over and over and over and over again, but he uses different events. He uses different he uses the same tactics in different situations. So what he's doing right now has already been done. Okay, it may have been with the inoculation a few years ago. Same thing being done, problem, reaction, solution. Okay, but it's different things being done for a different reaction. All right, and a different so-called solution being offered. It was the same thing with the whole BLM situation when that was real hot. Okay, that too, man, with the whole, all of these police. And when Esau do something, he does it with overkill. When you start seeing something being reported on and it's being pushed heavily in the media, or these events is happening back to back to back to back, just know it's an agenda behind it. You had the whole the train derailments. You had the police brutality. You had the the whole inoculation situation. It's you can go on and on. But when he does things and he wants to get your attention behind it, it's something else brewing in the behind the curtains, man. All right, so we're not ignorant of his devices, man. And speaking of that, Sirach 5:15, be not ignorant of anything in a great matter or a small. All right, so somebody may look at what's going on and say, oh, that's small, man. You got much more intense protests and riots going on in other countries, and people are being killed, and, babies are being, this and that. And, people may look at this, whether you are an American, a so-called American, or whether you are somebody from a different country looking on the inside from the outside. And you may look at this and say, oh, that ain't nothing, man. That happens every day. We go through protests and riots all the time. That's nothing. Hey, it's a major situation because it's leading to major prophecies being fulfilled. Okay, this is not something light, man, because this is going to be a snowball effect. All right, so don't be ignorant in this matter, thinking that this is just something that's going to pass and it's going to go back to normal, and we're going to watch Super Bowl fucking 78. I don't watch that shit. I don't even know. Super Bowl 121 or some shit, We're not going to listen. Time is short, man. The signs that we're seeing happen are signs of the end. We are in the end. We're at the end of the end, if that makes sense. Okay, because the beginning of the end was when Yahweh Shai walked the earth. All right, and when his sacrifice was made, that was the beginning of the end. We are at the end of the end, meaning the last few things that was said to take place before the coming of Yahushua is taking place. Okay, the uproars of the people. We seeing that right now. Proverbs 14 and 15. The simple believeth every word, but the prudent man looketh well to his going. Okay, so yeah, this is why we must show that prudence, understanding. We in the end times, and there's going to be we are in the age, I'm gonna say, of misinformation and trickery. We're in the age of illusion. We're in the age of this. You have to be very prudent right now, man, because we got AI. We got people who are masters, right? People whose job, who don't have nothing better to do, right? They get on the internet and they intentionally mislead people. They post these videos, they post these articles, they post these different things to mislead people. All right, and we have to be very much so prudent, man. All right, but it said the simple believeth every word, but the prudent man looketh well to his going. So don't just be taking everything for face value. Hey, shalom, yabashim yashabrakatah. Don't take everything that you see for face value. You see these different articles being posted, do some research on it. Verify it, qualify it. You see these different videos being posted. Hey, look at the video. Look at the quality of the video. Look at the hands. Make sure it's not AI. Make sure it's not something that took place 5 years ago. Make sure it's something that's actually relevant. That's why the video that I played, I said take it with a grain of salt. Even though you see the donut in the background, you see that area, it could be real. I'm not saying it's fake. I'm not saying it's AI or anything like that. But I'm just saying, take it don't take it for face value, man. Take it with a grain of salt. Verse 16, a wise man feareth and departeth from evil, but the fool rageth and is confident. And the scriptures speak about having foolish confidence. We supposed to prove all things. So having that wisdom, hide yourself. Understanding we are in evil times, hide yourself. Don't be out there tempting the Lord in the midst of all of this chaos, thinking that you about to justify yourself. Listen, justice only comes through Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. You're not gonna avenge yourself or bring any kind of reform based off of protests and riots, man. All right, that's you falling into the trap that's being laid. All right, as I've been speaking on throughout this lesson, Esau, he's laying traps. That's all he do. He lays traps, and he knows the type of people that are known for falling into those traps, man. Stop biting the bait. All right. Verse 17: he that is soon angry dealeth foolishly, and a man of wicked devices is hated. All right, so don't be quick to be angry, man. As much as, again, the whole situation is fucked up. You see videos of parents being taken from their children, and it's so cold because when they round up, when ICE come and they round up these Issacharites, they just take them, throw them in a paddy wagon like dogs. Like the brother said, like the fucking animal control, and they just toss them in them damn cold ass hard paddy wagons and just ship them off. And you leave kids there crying, don't know what to do, don't know where to go. It's cold, and it makes you, in your carnal mind, it makes you want to act. It makes you want to fight back. It makes you want to, do something about it. But we can do absolutely nothing, because guess what? That ain't nothing. It's gonna get a lot worse, man. There's gonna be times where, during the persecution, during the actual, when we in the midst of Jacob's trouble, they're gonna be kicking down doors, beating you upside the head with the back of the gun, having guns pointed at your kids, having guns pointed at you, taking your kids from you or taking you from your kids. It's going to get much more violent, much more draconian out here. So what we seeing right now is bad, but it's not the worst, man. The scriptures speak about how this time that we're coming into is going to be worse than any time that has ever been. Okay? And it's not going to be a time after this that's going to be as bad as what we're about to go through. So literally, we're going to have to walk on faith, okay? Giving everything to Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai, man. It may not be happening to you, and it's easy for you to say, oh, just let the Lord have it, right? But we're going to really have to let the Lord have it. Because if those things actually happen to us, yeah, we're going to be angry. We're going to be, we're going to be like, you motherfucker. I can't wait to get my hands on you, but we got to wait on the Lord, man, to raise us up. He said, wait ye upon me until I rise up to the prey. Okay? So that's what we got to do. We got to wait on the Lord. Get a couple more. Ephesians 5:15, right? And this is the whole point of all of this, man. See then that ye walk circumspectly, right? This is a compound word, man. Circum meaning around, spectly meaning to look. All right, so we have to look around, be aware, be alert. Watch your surroundings when you actually out and about, but also when you on the internet, be circumspect as well, man. Doing your due diligence and analyzing these different articles, videos, and information that's being spread. Not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. Wherefore be ye not unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is. Okay, and when you accept the will of the Lord, man, you accept everything that comes with the will of the Lord. All right, because part of the will of the Lord is that things get very bad before they get good. All right, and we're in that time of things getting very bad. We're in the evil time. Okay, so expect things to get evil, man. And what we're seeing it's not the end. It's only the beginning, man. These are the beginning of sorrows. So all of these things that we see taking place, the Lord is putting these things in place so that He can do what He got to do. All right, and we got to accept that, man. But be prudent. All right, because the devil, he's in agitation mode. He's stirring things up. He's causing disruption, and he has this expectation of violence. He has this expectation because when it comes to Esau, he has this wicked, you can call it like a fetish for justifying his evil actions. He wants to be justified in committing wicked acts. Like when he intentionally causes a disruption, and you pretty much stand up and fight for yourself or defend yourself, and then he come down with that sword. He like, see, this person, he came at me. He did it first. He was the aggressor. I was just defending myself. This is this man. This is what we dealing with. We dealing with the devil. All right, so be very circumspect, because that problem reaction solution, we seeing it in full effect right now. All right, but that's pretty much all I got. Lord willing, I do pray it was edifying. Hey, with that, I'm gonna give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, B'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, B'Hashem, Mechakodash. And double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations, peace, blessings, and safety to the hopeful elect. A DTA, Abba, Babal, Kam Yashala. Till next time, Shalom.